Good morning, gang. Happy Monday morning. All right, I got a question for you. I always seem to do that, don't I? Make you think. Anybody ever experienced what I like to call prepper burnout, where it's like, you know what? Why am I doing this anymore? We just keep plodding along, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or, you know what? I'm sick of doing this. It's taking up too much of my time, whatever it would be. I'll bet you every one of us has experienced it. Okay. Now is probably not the time to be going through those thoughts. I want to give you just a little bit of information here, and maybe it will revitalize your desire to take care of yourself. All right. There was a report that came out a couple of days ago by the United Nations about food. We'll start with food. I'm going to go into a couple of different things here. What's going on right now is you have nearly 30% of the world that doesn't have consistent access to food. One of y'all sent me a picture of your local Walmart yesterday and all the produce in the Walmart section. Wiped out. Okay, next to nothing there. All right. But I want to give you this. 2.4 billion people in the world right now do not have ready access to food. 900 million of them do not have practically any access to food. If you want to get to an idea of how much that is, China and India are the world's most populous countries. They are roughly the same at 1,425,000,000 people. Okay? So basically, what we're saying is nearly the entire population of China and the entire population of India, okay, the two largest, most populated countries in the world, have limited access to food. Okay? Then you have 900 million, if you want to take that, obviously the 900 million is in the 2.4, but 900 million people that have little to no access to food. Well, that would be combined the number 3 populated country, the United States, the number 4 populated country, Indonesia, the number 5 populated country, Pakistan, and half of the number 6 populated country, Nigeria, that have combined that have little to no access to food. Okay? It's a lot of people, right? When you're talking about 1/3 of the world, not the country, 1/3 of the world has limited access or no access to food. Okay. Could that come here? Sure. Okay. We're not immune. The once greatest country in the world, the United States, is not immune to any of this. You wonder how people would handle a food disaster like that. Let's give you this. Did anybody see the video? I think it came out on Friday. I believe the guy was a TikToker in New York. He said he was going to give away a PlayStation 5. That's it. Okay. How many things have we given away here? All right. He was going to give away one PlayStation 5 if everybody got together in New York City in one spot. They did. Over 1,000 people to get a PlayStation 5 participated in a full-on riot for a freaking video game console. Okay? What are those people going to do when there's no food and somebody says, hey, I've got a truckload of green beans and I'm going to pass it out? What happens when a grocery store says, hey, I've got a truckload of green beans and we're going to be able to sell it? You have a full-on riot. You go back to all the videos that we saw when we were younger. Mrs. P has told me the stories about them, about people waiting in line for 2 hours to get a pound of butter or to get a gallon of milk. and you're waiting in line for your allotment of a particular kind of food. Can you imagine waiting in line for 2 hours to get a pound of butter? Just think about that for a second. Can you imagine armed guards standing out in front of the store while they're passing out the butter to make sure there isn't a riot? Can you imagine an armed guard shooting somebody because they were getting a little bit more aggressive because they were sick of waiting 2 hours in line in 95-degree heat or 10-degree weather or whatever? Can you imagine getting shot over a pound of butter, or witnessing somebody getting shot over a pound of butter? How quick would that change your mindset and go, holy crap, I gotta shut up? Okay. That's what happened in the Soviet Union. That's what potentially could come here with storing food, with storing anything, with having access to anything. You don't have access to butter. You don't have access to milk. You don't have access to food. Let's talk about the next one. Let's talk about gasoline. Okay? Gasoline basically fuels our life, whether it's your car or your lawnmower or your chainsaw or whatever. You ain't going anywhere, and you aren't getting anything done without mechanical assistance. Let's put it this way. Now, sure, a lot of us have electrical backups and things like that, but most of us, we're not buying electric vehicles. Most of us don't have electric lawnmowers or electric chainsaws or anything like that we could charge with solar. They're available. They're expensive, but yes, you could get them. So gasoline is pretty much still the standard of what we have. Well, let's take a look at something in regards to gasoline. All right. At the end of the Trump administration, the last day of his presidency, gas was $2.96 a gallon. Okay. Across the country. The cheapest gasoline on average in the country right now is in Mississippi at $3.33 a gallon. So it's 37 cents higher than the average was for the entire country just 2.5 years ago, or more than 10%. You want to take a look at the top 10 cheapest states for gasoline. Okay, listen to these. Tell me what they have in common. Number 1 through 10. Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Kentucky, Ohio, Tennessee, Texas, Arkansas, South Carolina, Oklahoma. Notice anything in common with those. Now, let's contradict that with the states with the highest gasoline. California, $5.05 a gallon, okay, which is what, $2.09 more than it was under Trump? Okay, that's 80% more. Yeah. The top 10 most expensive states: California, Washington, Hawaii, Oregon, Alaska. I'll give you that. It's a little more expensive in Alaska because it's kind of hard to get stuff there. Okay. Nevada, Utah, Illinois, Idaho, Colorado. 7 of 10. Blue. Yeah. Alaska, I'll give you the pass because of your location, but Utah and Idaho, what the hell are you doing? Okay. Granted, you've got Mitt Romney running around in Utah screwing everything up, but figure it out here. But so now let's take a look at the comparisons there. And let's go back to the 1970s in the United States with gasoline, when we had a gas shortage, when you were waiting in line for gas, when gas stations had the sign that said no gas, when in some states you only were able to get gas depending on the last number of your license plate, whether it was odd or even. Okay. What happens when you go, I need to get to work and my license plate has an odd number and today's an even day? You probably do what a lot of people did, and you switched plates with somebody real quick so you could go to the gas station. But now imagine that the government running everything is aware of those little tricks and things. And so now they're standing at the gas station with armed guards to make sure that you don't cheat your way into getting gas, or you don't take more than your allotment of gas. That's coming. And it's not far off. When there isn't enough food to feed the people, when there isn't enough fuel to fuel our lives, to get us to work, to make any money to pay our bills, this is exactly why you're prepping, why you're spending your weekend canning tomatoes rather than enjoying time with your grandkids. This is exactly why you have those 5 or 10 5-gallon cans of gas and you're spending money on Staybill or something like that out in your garage or out in your shed. Because one morning we're going to wake up and that 2.9 billion people who were struggling to find food is going to be in your backyard. And you go, well, at that point, I'll go to the food bank. How many stories have we heard about food banks who were out of food? Lots of them, okay? When you go, there isn't enough gasoline for me. When the power company says, please shut off your air conditioner, I understand it's 95 degrees, but we don't have enough natural gas to generate electricity. We don't have enough coal to generate electricity. And oh, I'm sorry, but the sun hasn't been up for a couple of days and the breeze has been calm, so we haven't any way to generate any of Joe's renewables to generate electricity. So I'm sorry. I understand you're 85 years old and sitting in your house, but you know what? If a few people die, that's just, unintended consequences and acceptable losses for the Bidenomics. This is what's really going on, guys. So when you have a little bit of prepper burnout and go, I'm sick of picking vegetables. I'm sick of canning. Screw it. I'm not going to do it. Go look at a calendar and say, okay, what day is 2.9 billion going to go up to 3.9 billion? And now my town, my city, my state, my country are now included in the list of people being short of food. We all know what the farmers have told us about crops being crap this year because of droughts, because of floods, because of whatever, because of summer, okay? Not because of climate change, okay? This is because of, the difference of jet streams and El Nino and La Nina and all that sort of stuff. This is normal. This is also the grand solar minimum, which we have talked about ad nauseum here about what is truly affecting the air currents, if you will, the jet stream that affects our weather. Today is supposed to be, at least for the eastern half of the United States, a day of heavy, strong storms. Vermont can't handle any more. Okay? Vermont's already got flooding all over the place. You probably saw the storms that hit Washington, D.C. a few days ago and knocked down trees and toppled houses and things like that. Unfortunately, there weren't any trees that landed on Congress or 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and helped clear out any of that mess. But this is what you are prepping for, guys. You are prepping for what you can see right in front of you. Most of the world has blinders on, and they're going, but it'll be okay. The government will save me. And then if you look back at history and you go, how does the government save me? Well, the government saves me by restricting what I can have, telling me what to do, giving me only what they think I deserve, i.e. your social credit score, okay? And we're just supposed to fall into line and be compliant. No. The way you stop this is you buckle down, you say, you know what? I don't want to do it, but starting one more can of tomatoes or one more canner full of tomatoes is worth it to me. Or going out and picking up 5 more pounds of chicken legs and canning them is worth it to me. Or, you know what? Go out and spend $25 or whatever it costs you right now, depending on where you live, to fill up another can of gas is worth it. Because we don't know when we're not going to be able to. And you can bet that within the next, 15 months, things are going to get a lot tighter as the Democrats try to turn the screws to everybody to make it more difficult to get out of your house. God forbid we have another, for any reason, lockdown. I mean, I told you last week about a climate lockdown. We've heard about more COVID lockdowns, whatever it would be. You know that's coming because that's the only way they can win an election. Keep going. It's the only chance you have, really. The world may not come to an end in the next 15 months. I highly doubt it will. But the world may get a lot more difficult to live in. That, I think, is pretty much a certainty. I don't want it to be more difficult for me. I don't want it to be more difficult for you. I hope to God it gets a hell of a lot more difficult for the liberals who think Bidenomics is the greatest thing ever. And I hope something smacks them upside the head with like a 2x4 and goes, hey, dumbass, all this crap you've been peddling for the last 2.5 years doesn't work, okay? And those of us who have a little bit of foresight can look out and go, you know what? It sucked back when I was doing this, when I was standing in front of a canner when the rest of my friends were out throwing a frisbee around with their kids. But now they're trying to figure out how to eat that frisbee. And I got food. Pinball out.